Hey everybody, welcome back to another What Sold video. This is about what I could handle as I'm getting over the crud that my kids were so generous to have shared with me this past week. So again, in the past I had promised some other different types of videos, but this is the one video that I think I could handle and get out to you guys. So we're going to talk about what sold in our online reselling shops on eBay, Poshmark, Ruby Lane, Etsy, all sorts of things like that. We're going to start off with some hardware. More of the hardware Mr. Pish Posh is cleaning out of the garage and in our back stashes that we've had from different hardware sales we've done in the past. We had a little Etsy shop where we sold some hardware as well. But so this was some more of the Amarok, the hammered kind of look, copper colored drawer pulls, and those sold for $17.09. Then we're moving over to a piece of flatware. So this I featured, I think, in a day. It was a thrift with me, and I found some flatware. It was a thrifting for flatware kind of video. And this piece of sterling flatware was mixed in with the stainless. I think they did charge me like $1 or $2 just because it wasn't stainless. But in any case, I was okay paying that. It turned out to be an olive spoon, nice and long, kind of like an iced tea spoon length, but then it had, the pierced bowl. And so that ended up selling for $40.49. We have another flatware sale right after that. And here's that Pottery barn again. These were the pieces that weren't marked, but they were such good quality that I took a chance and brought them home. They were only marked 18/8 stainless Japan, and the little photo identifier on the replacements website helped me figure out that these were Pottery barn. So the buyer bought 3 of these forks, and I have a multi-item discount set up usually, and I think I actually had it set up. I usually just do 10% for anything over 1 piece that a person buys. But I think I had it got left at like if you bought 2, you got 10%. If you bought 3, you got 20%. So in any case, still an excellent return on investment since I pay about 20 cents a piece. And the 3 pieces together sold for $120. And that might have been my total. It's maybe not showing my discount, so hold on a second. Yep, so it didn't sell for $120. It sold for about $100 is what it sold for. Then, if we check out, this next one is Deneen Pottery. This is just one of those kind of random businesses. It's called the Hidden Haven Water Garden Cottages in Port Angeles, Washington. And that mug sold for $18.99. Sold this Coach belt for $24.99. Just a kind of a plain coat, plain leather belt. I've, sometimes they get overlooked because it's kind of hard to read the imprint or whatever, and they don't look very special. They're just Coach leather belts, and, we've just sold them for about this price, $25 or so. If you guys remember this from my shopping in my garage video, which I am planning on doing another one of those very soon. I meant to do it before now, but like I said, just being sick and everything has thrown off my recording schedule just a bit. But anyway, this was one of those items, and I got it listed, and I didn't go super high on it. There were quite a few listed. And like I think I said in the other video, some people, I think the research I did initially when I found it, whenever that was, a couple of years ago, they call it a shaving mug. They called it all sorts of things. But I had come across this time in my research the original catalog page for Macbeth Evans, and they call it a jardiniere. and like for a bookshelf or something like that. So just like another word for a vase or a little thing to put a plant in it. Put a plant in it. Anyway, so I took an offer for $25 on that. Nice sale on a pair of knives. These are carving knives by J.A. Henckels. Mr. Pishposh must have found these somewhere along the line. I vaguely remember us thrifting together at one point and him showing me that he had found some Henckels knives, so we were excited about that. And those sold for $60, and he had free shipping. So don't know why. We don't normally do free shipping, but I think I've said before, he, I don't know, experimented with it or did something like that with it just for a while, maybe when sales were slow. And so we still have some listings here and there that have it. Here we go with an Otagiri little trinket box. It was such a pretty little lacquerware box. You see on the bottom, it said limited edition Otagiri Japan. So I don't know if there were coasters or something like that in there, or just some kind of, I don't think it was deep enough for that. Anyway, just a little something to hold stuff in. Put a plant in it. Okay, so this one is something I picked up at Goodwill, and it sold really quickly. It was just a day I was with my son. We were thrifting together, and he had some things he was looking for. And I think this is the only thing at Goodwill that day that I brought home to flip. And I recognize the name Kohinoor, if I'm saying that correctly, just as like pencils or drawing or things like that. So I did a quick search for this item on eBay, and I think I paid $4 or something. And I saw there were comps like in $60 or something like that. So I was like, oh, we'll bring that home and see what can be done. So it turned out that the pens were in good shape, but the ink was crystallized. And so we just listed it at a lower price, and it sold like within a few days for $35. Sounds good to me. Here's a Lafayette 148 shirt that had been, I don't know, we picked it up a long time ago. This was kind of in that lot of clothing that Mr. Pishposh came across in the garage and decided to try to get as much of it listed. Some of it I was like, I don't even know if it's worth it, but he had already taken the measurements, the boys had helped, took his photos, we got it listed, and this shirt sold for $29.99, mostly I would think because it's linen. Now, Lafayette 148, for me, is one of those hit or miss. It's very hit or miss kind of brand. I wasn't sure about this being a smaller size, but as you can see, it just hit somebody at the right time. And then here's another item from my shopping in my garage video. If you remember this mug that was personalized for a bank teller named Coral. But someone probably who collects this style of mug wanted it for their collection, and I ended up selling it for $20, again, pretty quickly after it was listed. Then, a necktie. Now, this was kind of funny. This is a Rush Limbaugh tie. You look at it. There's no, like, stains or anything like that. Oh, I guess there's one. And I put it in the description. But there were no pulls. One thing I did not know is that, where's the picture of it? Okay, here's the back of the tie. I guess the Rush Limbaugh ties have like a chain that goes across, right? But you can see in my photos that the chain is not there. So I got feedback and I looked, and the guy was like not happy with his tie. He was like, the chain is missing. He's like, it's not in as good condition as I thought. And I was like, all right. But he left me a positive. So I was like, okay, I'm sorry about that. And I'll know what to look for now on Rush Limbaugh ties if I ever pick one up again. This was one that I think I had picked up a long time ago. And as my son was helping me with my tie backlog, we just decided to get it listed. And I had three of these left. If you've watched my What Sold videos, they're kind of sprinkled throughout the last 6 months or longer. I had found a bolt of these fabric panels at a thrift store, a Goodwill out of town, but it was a while back. And I have to do, when I finally sell the last one, I will count up how many there actually were and how much money I made on the bolt. I remember I paid $6.99 for the whole bolt. So this one fabric panel sold for $14.99. I sold another one this past week, and I have one left. So we'll see what the totals are when we're done. Then we have this vintage America West Airlines jacket, kind of like it's a mechanic's jacket, mechanic style, so very workwear, that kind of thing. And it was a size large. I think we have 2 of these. We have another one that's a bigger size that's, I think, in better shape. This one had a little bit of workwear on the workwear. And it sold for $49.99. Now, what's interesting is that I had just read, I do try to go through my listings on eBay and delist and relist my older listings, and I do that all through Vendoo so that everything stays linked up with, listings on other platforms. But I had tended to just kind of give things a few months before I delisted and relisted. And then I saw a comment in a Facebook group about a guy who had last summer he had gone through a program run by eBay where they kind of did like a intensive how-to or mentorship. I don't know anything about the program or how he heard about it or anything. But anyway, the person he was working with told him that basically in eBay search, listings that are 30 days old are like old. Like they're not completely hidden or buried or suppressed or whatever, but they're kind of partially, right? They're considered old. And listings that are like 6 months old are basically gone. Like, honestly, I've had old listings sell here and there, but it kind of changed my mindset. I used to back in the day, I was a list it and forget it. Like, I don't have time to keep relisting things. Just add new stuff and your old stuff will sell eventually. And I've changed that as that seemed to not be working so much anymore. But I was still giving it like 3, 4, 5 months. I was like, people are still looking. I'll just, let it go. And when I get around to it, I will change things up. I'll delist it, maybe tweak a little bit and relist it. But after reading that, I was like, you know what? Stuff is going staler on eBay faster than I expected. So what I do now is I search every day of what's ending that day. I try to do this every day. And I still haven't been able to bring myself to do the stuff I just listed or relisted a month ago. But I've been trying to do at least the 2 months and older stuff. And, it's just a little bit every day. And I do it as the item was about to end anyway, so I'm not using up any extra listings. But this was one of those items, this jacket and the other jacket, they were already like 4 or 5 months listed. So I did it and it sold the next day. So, if your stuff is like stale and just sitting there, if you use something like Vendoo, you can delist, relist, you know how to do that. If you don't, just end your item on eBay, sell similar, and just get fresh eyes on it again. And I really think it does help with sales. We've seen it over and over again with things that we've relisted. Now, here's some more parts to the Bosch table saw, the never-ending gift that keeps on giving table saw that Mr. Pish Posh took apart, and these pieces sold for $20. More Mr. Pish Posh stuff. I think I don't know where he got these, and they must have come, I think they came in a Lego lot that he had bought. Anyway, they sold for $35. They're Star Wars, Hot Wheels, die-cast collectible toys. So that's my story. I can't remember exactly. Then, this was such a weird like random item that same day when I was thrifting with my son. We went to our little bins, our little clearance store, and like I've told you before, it's all changed. You know, I don't buy as much there anymore. But I saw this sitting there on the counter or whatever, on one of the shelves. And it was new in the package, and so it made me stop and take a look because I'm hardly paying anything at that store. And I was like, okay, a Dazzle DVD recorder. And it looked like it was in good shape and everything, not used, whatever. And I looked at comps, even though I knew I wasn't paying much, and like there was a pretty good sell-through rate. Not high money, as you can see. It sold for $25, but you know, they were selling. And so I grabbed it and we listed it and it sold like within 2 days. I'm like, I totally will sell random junk like this. Easy peasy. I even got feedback from the buyer who sent me a picture of him using it. Well, not the person, but like he sent me a picture of it hooked up to his DVD player. I don't know. Whatever, his camcorder. So he said it worked great. So I was super happy about that. Then I sold this vest. Arizona Jeans Company. Who did that? Was that like JCPenney or something like that? They might still do it. But anyway, this just had such a 90s look to me. The Southwest design is always kind of a popular motif. And so anyway, even though it's not a brand I'm totally would be recommending, it still sold for $26.99 because of the look. Then we sold this Columbia Fisherman rain hat. Same thing, delisted, relisted. We're closer to kind of that season, spring, fishing, all that kind of stuff. So sold for $24.99. Same thing, got good feedback. The buyer was happy about the quality. And he just said, you know, they don't make things like they used to. Which is one of the fundamentals of vintage reselling, right? Then this lot of fishing lures by Mr. Pish Posh sold for $49.99. I don't know how many, if this is a new lot he put together or he's kind of rearranged his fishing stuff a few times. But anyway, those have moved on. Then this is exciting. So same thing, that video of me shopping in my garage. I showed you a set of flatware in a case. And it was Gorham Waikiki. And when I had looked at comps, it just looked like it would be a lot of work to part this set out for, you know, like the pieces weren't selling for a lot of money. So because it was such a nice set, a service for 8, it had extra teaspoons, it had a few serving pieces. I thought, you know, I'm just going to put it together, sell it as a set. And I looked at comps for similar amount of pieces. Gorham Waikiki, you know, someone had sold a set of 80 pieces or, you know, 75. And I found one right around the 50-piece range, and they had sold theirs for $75. I said, that works for me. I paid 10 at the most for the set, and so again, within a few days it sold. So all this stuff that's been sitting in my garage, I'm telling you. Okay, so I will have another garage thrifting video, like I said, coming up, because I have another grouping of items that I need to get listed and moved on to their next home. Then the last thing we sold that week, I never even said, this is like February, the 3rd week, like 17 through 24, or 3, yeah, 17 through 23, in case you're wondering. This was a vintage shirt by Banana Republic, and I love finding the old Banana Republic labels. This was a cotton shirt sold, made in Hong Kong, and just kind of a basic kind of thing, but it sold for $25. Moving over to the Poshmark, I sold this fossil saddlebag style crossbody. It was new with tags. I think I did pay up a little bit at the thrift, like $20 or something for it. So I was hoping for a little bit of a higher price that it would sell at. I kept getting pretty low offers. But then someone offered me 55 on Poshmark, and I just decided, you know what, I need cash flow at this point. I just need to not be so, I just need to get things to move, and that just is what I need to do. We sold this Gap Fashion Pioneers Western shirt for $22. Check out this label. Don't you just love old labels? I want to make a book of like vintage labels. Okay, Gap Fashion Pioneers, made in Hong Kong. So fun. Look at that. I got to make sure I have a copy of this photo, because seriously, I need to hang on to that. Then this was kind of a, I'm glad it sold. Kind of regretted getting it because I was at Goodwill one day when women's clothes accessories were half off, and someone had stashed this like right by the register, like they changed their mind, and I was like, oh, Fjallraven. And I know these, like, their bags are kind of trendy at the moment and everything, and so I just saw it, but it was little, and it was trashed. It was pretty dirty. But it had like a little seat pad in it. Let me try to explain. Let's see, in this picture maybe? Yeah, this little foam pad comes out. It's like a little seat pad, but it's just a mini backpack. It's like for kids, or if you just want a mini backpack. But the amount of work that went into cleaning it, like we soaked it, like we did all this stuff. And Mr. Pish Posh is amazing, right? So he got it looking really good. We got it listed, and I had looked it up, and I was like, oh, they're not even worth that much. And I had paid more than I should have paid. I paid like 10 or something because it was half off, but they had it like listed pretty high at Goodwill. But I was like a sucker for the tag, for the name. And I was right at the register, like about to check out. And so it was a big impulse. So I'm glad it moved on. We made a tiny bit of profit, but probably not worth it for the amount of time spent on it. And then in my quest to just get rid of, I'm so done with clothing. I'm just like, I want to sell flatware and utensils and all that other kind of vintage stuff and be done with just buying the bread and butter type clothing. It just takes up so much time. So when this offer came on Posh for $15 for this Free People top, no one else had been interested. I was like, sure, take it. Okay, over on Ruby Lane, I sold this little mug for $14. It's a Clyban mug. Cats in love. So cute. Part of a big collection of Clyban mugs I bought last summer at a yard sale-ish kind of thing. Then this sale went to a viewer, and I forgot to make note of her name, but thank you so much. And anyway, she had opened a shop on Ruby Lane and had used a lot of the information from my Ruby Lane videos. And so she wanted to thank me for the information. So she bought this little item in my shop. As you can see, it's a vintage ring box. I put as is. It's got a worn spot right here. And, a little bit of wear on the brass, but it's really cool. It's got enamel around the corners. And anyway, so just as a heads up, vintage ring boxes, antique ring boxes, Art Deco, any kind of from that era, they do really well. Okay, a sale on Depop. Can you believe it? So here's my Depop story. I, a while back, just took everything off of Depop. I wasn't done with it. I just felt like I had put too many things on Depop that I was like, let's just try it. Let's just try it. And so then when I started putting items back, I tried to pick items that I thought had a better chance of selling on Depop. But I have not given it that much attention. And as I just said, we were talking about not being that into clothing and that kind of thing anymore. So I do have clothing to list. I still find things that could go on Depop, but it's just not getting the bulk of my attention right now. So still happy to get $30 for a pair of used Doc Marten flip-flops. Works for me. It might not have been 30. I forget. It always shows that price there. It might have been, all right, it was somewhere between 25 and 30. Then over on Etsy, and this is Mr. Pish Posh's shop, Metal and Tweed, is this West Bend coffee maker, sold for $39.99. I picked that up at an estate sale or yard sale last summer. Then I think oh yes, this was a nice sale. The next 3 items all went to the same buyer. So let me just show you what they were first. There was this vintage Hollywood bowl tapestry throw that I picked up at Goodwill. I think it was Goodwill. Anyway, I just love the look of that. It's like a little souvenir blanket kind of thing. We've talked about blankets in other videos. Then they also bought this Pottery. I never could figure out the maker. But it says $49.99. I'll explain in a minute. But anyway, those 6 little footed pedestal cups. And then the third thing they bought was this sterling silver belt buckle. And I think we took this off of a belt or something like that, is what I vaguely remember. But anyway, so those 3 items, Mr. Pish Posh was running a 25% sale, I do believe. So I think, so they bought all 3, and then there was a discount off of their 3 items, but still a nice sale. And it was kind of funny because the buyer the address we shipped to was like Tory Burch headquarters, right? So I don't necessarily think this has anything to do with Tory Burch, but I think the employee maybe just wanted her stuff shipped to her office. That happens a lot. But anyway, it's just kind of interesting to see a name like that pop out at you when you look at the order that comes in. And then another sale on that site was this little ceramic cup. Get your paws off my pencils. So it was just a little pencil cup, super cute angry cat kind of thing. $14.99. Now I think we're over to the patterns. And I think the next 3 patterns all went to the same buyer. We've got this McCall's dress, the New York collection from the 90s, of course, as usual, because that's what I seem to sell the most of over there. That's what I list the most of, so it follows. Another McCall's kind of loose fit dress for $12, or a flared tunic. And then a Vogue set of skirts, again, very Y2K, the handkerchief hem, kind of asymmetrical type of hem, very popular back then. That sold for $12. Like I said, all 3 of those went to the same buyer. Then I sold this Vogue. This is kind of a newer style Vogue pattern, and it sold for $12 as well. Another like V-neck, loose fit kind of dress. Then a Vogue Calvin Klein. This is one of the bigger envelopes. This one sold for $20, but again, 1990s. I think I have so many 90s because that's a collection I had bought off of someone who was a seamstress at that time. Another Vogue from the 90s. This one just like screams the 90s. It's got the romantic sleeves and the velvet choker, all that kind of thing. $18 for that pattern. I think I had 2 of those. I don't know if they've both sold. Then another Vogue. This is a totally different look. Very 50s, like reminiscent 50s and 60s kind of Jackie O kind of style, with a dress and a short little jacket. She's wearing gloves and has the little handbag. But anyway, it's a modern pattern. It sold for $22. And I did have 2 of those, and I believe I have sold both of them at this point. Then this Butterick pattern, $10 for just the little, it's just the little shrug kind of jackets. Again, Y2K, And a McCall's 1 hour quick little A-line pullover dress pattern sold for $12 as well. And then we're gonna pop over to the to the Pish Posh Kitchen Shop on Etsy. So I sold these, let's see, 4 teaspoons for $12. Now I have had these teaspoons listed for a minute. And the reason I know that is because these were in this shop before I closed it, you know, so from way back then, all I had to do was kind of redo the listing and like reactivate it, and we were good to go. But this time around, they sold pretty quickly, $12 for this Oneida Huntington. It's kind of a floral design for $12. Then, as my youngest and I were doing the Flatware organization that I shared in my last video, I realized that in my unlisted dance bin, I had 2 pieces of Torin, and I had been selling Torin so well over on eBay in the last months when I found that big lot of it, that I was like, oh, I'll just list these real quick. It was a dinner fork, dinner knife, sold for $19 pretty quickly. And then one of my favorite things, a utensil, a spatula. I love spatulas, and I especially love spatulas that have Bakelite handles. This one has the bullet shaped. It's Androck, who generally does those bullet shaped Bakelite handles, but it being a spatula made it exciting as well, and it was red and all that, and that sold for $35. So anyway, that was my weeks, that 3rd week of February. Those were the sales. Anyway, I hope you guys learned something. If there was something you could take away from it that you can use in your own reselling, that is the goal of my sharing those things with you. So let me know in the comments down below if you have, how your selling is going. This is what I ask every time. Have you sold anything interesting? Have you found anything interesting? Are sales slow? Are they picked up again? You know, all that kind of thing. It's your chance to kind of share some fun stuff with us as well. So I hope you guys are doing great. I wanted to thank everyone as well, because we are coming up, I'm like shocked, but I'm coming up on 10,000 subscribers. And I just I never thought we would get to that point. But maybe even by the time this video comes out, it will have hit that. I'm not sure, but I'm super excited about that. I have a lot of plans coming up for this year for different videos and ideas and things like that I'm going to work on. So just got to get healthy and get more of these things scheduled into my life. So I will talk to you guys soon, and hopefully have another video out for you this weekend, and we'll talk to you later.